Over here is a sort of a small inlet. The water here is kind of stale, but there is indeed a flow from the river up here that keeps it somewhat fresh. It seems to be mainly a dock for fishing boats and fisheries. There is also, at the point that Erevan is right now standing at, a sort of lumber mill, a lumber yard, and the constant buzzing of saws and timber being cut fills the entire neighborhood around that area. Down here is the Knight's Brewery. Aptly named, and so because it is indeed sort of the facade of the building is sort of carved into it are pictures of knights in armor and sort of battling fierce beasts and things like that. It seems to be quite busy at the place as of right now. They are probably planning to sell a lot of beer during the festival. There is a very large building that some of you may find sort of in the southern end of town over here. On a golden sign outside, it says Sandpoint Mercantile League. It seems to be some sort of guild house. The exact and the exact function of the guild house is unknown as of now. Arenoss would know also that in the harbor down here, these two buildings belong to the infamous tavern that Sheriff Hemlock mentioned, Fat Man's Feed Bag, one of the most ill-reputed establishments in town, known for being home to, well, the most unsavory types of the town, basically. And the sheriff and his men usually need to make a few trips down here each week to sort of sort out bar fights and things like that. Over here is the Hagfish Tavern, and indeed a very salty seaman's sea tavern, specializes in fish dishes and things of the like. It is the sort of the good version of Fat Man's Feed Bag. It has a good, well-earned reputation in town for being, kind of a wild place indeed. A lot of drinking and gambling, but a good place to go when you want to have, have some decent fun with sort of the normal people of town, the workers and the fishermen. Over where Alvyn is the Sandpoint Theatre, one of the also very special buildings in town. It's quite unusual that a town of this, rather small size has a theater of such magnitude as this. When Alvyn and Roldar sort of passes outside, they do notice that the building seems to be, quite well appointed. It is even luxurious in its design. And indeed, someone must have spent a lot of resources to actually build this. Some of the, just finishing up, some of the characters might also notice a lot of sort of smoke coming from this quarter of the city, especially from this building over here, which seems to be putting out sort of, yes, indeed, a lot of smoke. Something, exactly what's going on in that building can't really be discerned from outside.
Roldar eyes. No, there you go.
Do I know what the smoky building is?
Yes, Arenoss would know that the smoking building is, and probably Saloro would know this as well if he has been in town a few times. The smoking building is the Sandpoint Glassworks. Yeah. One of the sort of very special industries that puts Sandpoint on the map, because glassworks is quite rare actually. Not many people have the know-how and the prowess to actually make glass, and it is one of Sandpoint's most precious resources and exports. It is owned by the Kajitsu family, the same family that Ameko, the innkeeper at the Rusty Dragon, is part of.
Where's the Rusty Dragon on this map?
Yes, that is indeed a very good idea. Hold on while I consult my cheat sheet over here.
Your cheat sheet?
Yes.
Either a cheat sheet or he's got some cheats that he's coding in. I think it's one of them's for 1,000 extra food.
Oh, okay.
The Rusty Dragon is located here.
Okay, so very close to the Sandpoint Mercantile League.
Yes.
And
After staring over,
yeah, go ahead.
after staring over the murky water, Erevan will kind of just get up, notice it's the smell that's probably flowing down, and just begin walking towards the festival in the temple or cathedral.
Indeed.
I added the notes to add some clarity to the map.
Yep, very good.
Much appreciated.
Yes, the town is quite lively, and a lot of people is out and about. The party gets a couple of very interested looks, but mostly friendly.
How many
And,
people normally live within the little hamlet of Sandpoint?
Saloro would sort of guess that around 1,000 people probably live here.
Okay.
Also, just to clarify, the sheriff didn't actually tell me to go anywhere specific, did he?
No, he just wanted you to keep an eye out.
Yeah, okay. Then I will be by the cathedral.
As Roldar is walking by the Point Theatre, sees a lot of money being spent, tries to keep an even closer attitude on Alvyn.
There is actually a huge sort of poster outside the theater, heralding some sort of performance that it's apparently supposed to be premiering this very evening.
Does it say anything more on it?
Well, it does indeed. It says that the Harpy's Curse is being played this evening, and premiering as the lead role of Aviseria the Harpy Queen is none other than the famous Deva from Magnimar, Alishanda. This is being sort of shouted more or less from the from the writing of the poster. Apparently this Deva is a big deal, at least from the sort of the font size of this poster.
Roldar will look at it, and if Alvyn is close, he'll look and go, Alvyn, am I supposed to know who this person is?
Erevan will go to Roldar, take a look at the poster and say, "Oh, I don't know. Artists and entertainers, their names don't really matter. It just matters what they do, and I don't think whatever this person is doing is very exciting. I don't really care for theater too much."
Doesn't look like my kind of entertainment.
Besides, it's probably expensive.
Well, I've got my eye on you still.
Yeah, Erevan will just keep on wandering through the village without any specific goal in mind.
Okay.
Maybe listening on a conversation or two.
Yes, the conversation. Actually, make a perception check. The conversations of the town seems to be quite elated. A lot of people seems to be very happy this day. Alvyn hears a few references to something called the late unpleasantness, and many people say that it's very good that finally we can sort of put an end to that tragic history and sort of move on. They seem to view the consecration of the temple as sort of the end of the healing process from this past event. No one really wants to sort of elaborate about the late unpleasantness. Perhaps like the person who they're talking to already know exactly what happened and doesn't really need to explain it. It does seem though that the term the late unpleasantness is somewhat of a saying in town.
I guess Alvyn will just store any information he gains from listening on conversation, but not really react to anything, as it doesn't seem very important at the moment. Or
Alright.
at all.
All right. Yes, well, the cathedral then. It is easily one of the largest structures in Sandpoint. It is indeed impressive, and it is the newest structure in town, clearly from its design and sort of the freshness of the stone cut and so on. It is built, as you can see at certain places, over some old foundations, perhaps the old temple. It does not seem to be sort of consecrated yet, but you have heard during the talk of the town that this is sort of the point of the festivities this day, is to, at the end of it, consecrate the temple, and as such bring the glory of the gods back to Sandpoint.
Is Saloro familiar with the late unpleasantness that occurred here within Sandpoint?
Yes, he might have picked up some of the local lore. He knows that there was a series of mysterious deaths 5 years ago in town. No less than 25 people died during that time.
Right, I remember the information you included within the notepad file, or rather a Word file. I was just checking to see whether Saloro would have actually, say, known that information.
Yes, he would.
Okay.
So it was a dark time in the city's history, and and many people look back to it with sadness, and also the old chapel burned down during that.
Is traffic allowed inside the interior of the cathedral yet, or is that waiting until like it's commemorated or what have you?
Yes, when Saloro approaches, he sees that indeed it seems that the doors are closed at the moment. And he is guessing that might indeed be the case. Like they are going to consecrate the cathedral, and after that, sort of the populace of the town is going to be let inside.
We have statues to Bahamut and Vandra appears to be the primary deity. Any of the others, such as say Arathis, represented?
Yes, Arathis is indeed represented, as is the Raven Queen. He even sees a small but distinct dedication to Corellon, the Elven god.
Of course, none to say Ioun the.
No, but Saloro would actually know that there is a small other place of worship in town. Actually, it's called the House of Blue Stones, and it is located here.
Okay.
The House of Blue Stones is dedicated to the god of magic and knowledge. It is a small monastery, actually, kept by a human woman who has also blue hair for some reason. The exact reason for this, well, unknown. Maybe she colors it. But she is called Sabil Sorn. I can write that down for you.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Sabil Sorn. She is kind of quiet and secretive. She usually doesn't really talk to a lot of people, preferring to stay inside in meditation. But she is not unfriendly, and people who behave themselves and ask nice usually can get let inside into the House of Blue Stones. She has a pretty decent library of ancient lore and things like that. So she's sort of a reference for history or other types of sort of required knowledge in town. Many people ask her.
Okay.
Also in the temple, of course, Melora, since it's a coastal town, the goddess of wilderness and the sea. And there is, of course, a dedication to Palor, the god of light and harvest.
Yes. Saloro, seeing, the actual sort of visible outward symbols and statues, will actually go through his process and offer prayers and reverence to Avandra and Bahamut and Arathis and Melora and Palor and Corellon, and then he'll nod to himself, and he'll actually head to the House of Blue Stones.
All right.
You would have noticed Erevan, possibly, when you went to Bahamut's statue. just kind of standing there giving some kind of prayer.
That's fair. Then I make the statue fall.
Oh no!
Oh no, ghost down there.
Oh
no. What?
I made a boo-boo!
What was that, Mammoth?
Tiamat is gonna win. What? No!
Don't I need to go!
Suddenly Erevan vanishes to go fight Tiamat and the chromatic dragon.
Yep. Rushes off.
Saloro is a very religious being, and as such, he is very much interested in paying respect to some other deities while he's here. Why not?
Indeed.
No need to go into over detail about it, since he's an isolationist anyway. But that's what he cares about.
All right. And knocking on the door of the House of Bluestones, Saloro will indeed meet the monk of the monastery, Sibyl Sorn. She opens the door and sort of peers up at him. She nods to himself. She probably recognizes him from before his visits in town, and says, "Yeah, well, hello." Sort of looks up and down at him questioningly.
Saloro actually removes his veil and bows politely and says, "My apologies for interrupting your meditations. I've just merely come to pay my respects."
She nods. Of course. You are welcome to enter." And she opens the door for you.
Saloro very politely and softly enters the house.
Yes, the house is a small shrine to the god of knowledge and self-perfection and magic. Sibyl and her small but well-stocked library is indeed, as I said, a source for lore in the town, and she keeps the library open for the townspeople as long as they behave themselves in there. She nods to Saloro and sort of lets him in, and a few seconds later, she sort of resumes her meditations in front of the shrine.
Yes, Saloro prostrates himself and begins going through a series of mental exercises as well as prayer.
All right. Arenoss in the town square.
Yes.
He does notice that more and more people seem to be gathering about, and as time goes by during the day, he also notices they're clearly setting up for the first of the sort of welcoming speeches, and a lot of very prominent figures of the town are sort of gathering about to deliver these speeches. There also seems to be some sort of setting up for some sort of or what do you call it? Races, feats of strength, feats of dexterity, and the like.
Okay. Arenoss will try to find a vantage point, higher ground somewhere, and just keep an eye on the people.
All right. You can certainly do that.
Feat of strength.
Question,
That sounds like Saloro's alley.
Yeah, feats of intelligence. Sounds like Roldar's.
Would Erevan have noticed loads of people seem to be gathering towards the town square?
Yes.
Since
Then I
it's
would
so
have gone
close to
there.
the cathedral.
I would have gone there just to go see what's going on.
Yeah.
Alvyn would have done the same, pretty much.
Roldar is just following. He's like,
Where'd the gnome go?
"I'm over here, Roldar."
Oh, okay.
I own you.
You know, you remind me of a halfling sometimes. They're about the same height, yeah.
Greatest ruse Alvyn has ever pulled. He's actually a halfling.
Yes. Saloro, if he wants to, he can also sort of join for the opening speeches, or he can stay at the house.
So absolutely, Saloro will just not overly overstay his welcome and realize that there are other things to do here. He just wanted to pay his respects to his patron deity, as he cares deeply for all of the gods. He eventually ends up making his way to this town square.
All right.
Just look for the giant.
Alright. I like your rough voice, Griff.
All right. Taking the stage, a small stage built in front of the square, is a woman of plain looking. One would say she looks to be in her 40s, perhaps. She clearly is some sort of important figure. She has a badge of office around her neck. Arenoss and Saloro both would recognize her as the mayor of the town, Kendra Deverin. She is well loved by the townspeople. She got the job when her father died under sort of mysterious circumstances. No one really knows actually how he died. He has disappeared, and Kendra has never really revealed what happened to him. But she got sort of overwhelming support from the town to take over after him. The main sort of rival in this election was one of the town's noble families, the head of such, a man named Titus Scarnetti, one of the town's oldest noble families, who also was sort of in the run here for the office. But Kendra won by a landslide, you might say, and she has been a very popular mayor since then. She is fair. She's trying to be just. She does basically to the best of her ability to keep the town safe, free, and prosperous. And the support for her locally is almost overwhelming. She now takes the center stage and looks over the thronging masses of people and clears her throat. Saloro might notice that there seems to be some sort of enchantment going on, because when she speaks, her voice carries over the whole plaza and can be heard by all. Well, welcome everyone to this year's festival. She smiles over the crowd, who cheers in return. I see that so many people have made it here, and it pleases me greatly. And she sort of peers out the crowd. I even see that Lars has made it here, and she sort of waves into the crowd to someone. It's good to see you here, Lars. It's very nice to see that you actually take some time off from your work, even during the day sometimes. And she sort of smiles at him. A lot of the crowd seems to laugh at this. The man who she's pointing out does not seem so amused, but the feel of the crowd is generally pleased. She clears her throat. Well, I hope indeed that these festivities will mark the end of the late unpleasantness, and that with this we can finally move together towards a brighter and more prosperous future together. Now, Sheriff Hemlock has asked to say a few things to you, so I will leave the podium for him. And she nods and receives the applause and hoorays from the crowd. And she takes a step back. Sheriff Hemlock is still very dour. His mannerism during even a festival seems to be kind of moody at best, and he looks with a stern gaze over the gathered crowd. And he says, well, as you know, we have had a string of some drunkenness and some bad behavior over the last couple of months, and I will not have any of this today. And he looks warningly over the crowd. If anyone is being caught doing anything illegal at all, they will need to contend with me and my boys. Also, if you see anything funny going on, he sort of peers into the crowd at this, perhaps trying to find Alvyn. You report immediately to one of my boys or me directly, and we will sort it out. Now, remember, be safe. Be safe around the bonfire tonight. I don't want anyone trying anything foolish, like jumping over it or any of that tomfoolery we had last time around. And please take care. Don't drink too much, and don't make me come and get you. He sort of looks sternly over the crowd and he moves back. Next up is a man who looks quite flamboyant. He is well dressed, overly so. It's crimson and gold all over him. He has embroidered dragons on his sleeves, and his clothes look, well, it's clear that this man, if he is a noble, has incredible gaudy taste. He clears his throat and says, "Well, then it falls to me to also welcome every one of you to the theater tonight." And he makes a dramatic bow towards the crowd, who seems to take this fairly well, and a lot of hoorays and a lot of whooping comes from the crowd. "And I will be pleased to announce to you all that the new production will be premiering this evening, The Harpy's Curse." And he lowers his voice to a dramatic effect here. And a lot of the crowd seems to be sort of talking with each other over this, and many seems quite excited, actually. "And for the lead role is the famous Alishanda from Magnamar." "Oh, yes." And he winks out of the crowd. A lot of people seem to be sort of quite taken in by this as well. After this, he sort of falls into a somewhat rambling and grandiose speech about how incredibly pleased he is to stand before the city of Sandpoint today, and how incredibly proud he is of the good taste of the people that keeps giving him patronage at the theater. Ending with a flourish and a sort of explosion of fireworks he seems to be conjuring himself. And
Are they purple?
no, they seem to be red and gold mainly.
Oh, good. Roldar bros.
Saloro snorts in derision.
He takes a step back. After this, the last one to take the podium is the clearly the priest. Both Arenoss and Saloro would know him as Father Santus, the mild-mannered and well-liked priest of Sandpoint. He looks over the crowd and says, "Yes, it will be my great pleasure then to begin the festivities with the Swallowtail release." And he sort of indicates to a wagon near him, and a large piece of cloth that has been hanging over the wagon is suddenly ripped away, and from the wagon springs a veritable cloud of bright purple butterflies that seem to skirt in every direction and out over the crowd. They are quite sort of big and look very exotic. And the crowd, when they see the butterflies sort of swoop out over them, goes up in a jubilant cheer, as many people seems to sort of watch almost as being hypnotized by the butterflies. It is indeed a very pretty spectacle. Father Santos claps his hand and says, "Well, let then the festivities begin. I will also like to say that the consecration will be beginning this afternoon. So please, everyone, return here in a few hours, and the consecration of a new cathedral will begin in earnest." And he smiles. At this, the crowd goes up in more cheers and applause, and many of them seems to be at this signal, sort of starting the festivities, dashing all around, going for the stalls, buying food, and well, generally indulging themselves in the pleasures of the festival. What does the party do?
While the fireworks were going off, I know Erevan was looking over to Roldar. Not with the fireworks, when the butterflies came out, I mean. Checking to make sure he's not getting too worked up by them.
Saloro will use ghost sound to simulate hands clapping for even greater effect. He personally will not clap.
Oh, of course. He has magic for that. There's a quite large purple butterfly actually making a beeline straight for the party, and it seems to be aiming at Roldar.
Saloro's eyes will lock on this, the storm gray eyes, and there's a rare moment here, his lips curl up in a smile.
Are you
Erevan-
with it, Griff?
Is Griff gone?
Yeah, I'm
I
here.
guess.
Sorry.
Ah, Alvyn will just look at the butterfly, will look back at Roller, and get a big grin on his face and wait for a reaction.
Erevan will notice the grins on both Solano and Alvyn and just kind of shake his head.
Roldar can't help. Eyes twitching.
The butterfly seems quite insistent. Maybe it's taking a liking to Roldar. And it gets ever closer.
I actually start swatting at the thing.
The butterfly seems to skirt out of the way quite nimbly, actually. And Roldar it's getting a bad feeling that it's taunting him.
You little bastard, will you so freaking go?
He's batting his eyes, batting his arms, and trying to swing at the thing.
The party can at this hear a few snickers and giggles from a crowd of nearby people who seems to be quite amused at the Goliath's fight with the butterfly.
Arenoss will try to find a place where he can get a cup of wine and then go back to watching the people.
All right, there is no problem if fetching wine here.
Oh, I've noticed. I just noticed another problem with my character sheet. Well, that pops up, Jonas. It looks like now for your reflex, both intelligence or dexterity can be used depending on the highest value. But here on my defenses, it just has a reflex of 10
All right, let's see here.
instead of 14. I didn't know how to change that.
All right, I can change that for you.
Figured that might be another thing along with the -5 initiative I have.
Yes.
Guys, I have the improved initiative feat and a dexterity of 14. I am the slowest motherfucker here.
So let's see here. What should your reflex defense be? It
14.
should be 14.
Yeah. To factor in either intelligence or dexterity counting.
All right, and fortitude is 10. Is that correct?
Yeah, fortitude's 10.
All right. There we go.
Hooray! Sorry to interrupt the flow. I was reviewing things between my
No.
character sheet and that.
That's quite good. It's good to have that sorted out. So yes, it seems to be that the festival is starting. There seems to be a lot of people milling about. The party can have some time to spend before sort of the big consecration this afternoon, if they wish to attend that, of course.
Erevan will look around and see if are there any stalls with like little religious trinkets on it.
Yes, there is.
Are there any trinkets to Bahamut?
Bahamut.
Yeah, Bahamut. I can't speak.
Yes, there is indeed a small, quite well-made silver necklace, actually, featuring the holy symbol of Bahamut, the sort of profile picture of the platinum god dragon, in a small silver chain.